Thank you for joining again. This is the Future Proof Leader podcast, where we sit down with senior executives and have real conversations about leadership, what it looks like today, and how it's going to evolve as we head into 2026 and beyond. I'm Chelsea Baldwin, and I'm here with my partner, Jessica Raypatch. We're here today with an exciting guest. Rebecca Aguilera Gardner is the CEO of VIB Network. She's going to talk to us today about her personal journey and leadership experience, and we're going to explore the growth challenges that she's overcome to get to where she is today, along with any insights or industry trends that she might think other business leaders should be paying attention to, especially as we enter 2026 in just a few days here. So thank you for joining us. I'd love if you could just kick us off with an introduction. Tell us about yourself and VIB Network.
Sure, great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Get to share. Anytime I get the opportunity to share about the VIB network, I really appreciate the time and the energy that you put into this. So I appreciate, being part of this podcast. So I'm Rebecca Aguilera Gardner. I'm the CEO for Veterans in Business Network. The VIB Network is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We help connect veteran-owned businesses to corporations and government agencies for contracting opportunity. Before I go way into the VIB network, I'll tell you a little about myself. So I come from a family-owned service-disabled veteran printing business in San Diego. It's celebrating 53 years in business this year, or actually 54, I think, this year, coming up in 2026. So I grew up in the family business. My father was a Korean War veteran. My brother is Air Force veteran, injured in the Air Force. And from that is how I kind of came into the family business of knowing more about the veteran certification and how it can help your business. So what I would do for our family-owned business is I did all the sales and marketing. And one day, one of our clients, a big client of ours, went with someone else who was a service disabled veteran business, and I found out more about what that was about. I turned to my brother and I said, you know what, you're a service disabled veteran. Let's look into this and see about if we can get this certification. So, went deep into the rabbit hole and found out all about the certifications. And then with that, not just getting the certification, not getting or getting the certification is not enough. You need to actually actively understand how to utilize that. So I actually joined a lot of networking groups. I got really involved. I was on the board of another organization specifically for veteran-owned businesses. Learned about utilizing that certification, won large contracts with CVS Pharmacy, MetLife, the utilities. I was able to take our family-owned business from a 8-hour shift shop to a 24-hour shift shop because of the opportunities and connections and contracts we were able to obtain by utilizing those certifications.
That's amazing. I love your background. And my first question was actually going to be to talk about what was that moment that drew you into working with veterans. But I think, you really kind of hit that on the head talking about your family experience and your business, and 50 plus years of business is pretty amazing. That's hard to do, and that's very impressive. So thank you for sharing that. Coming into this space and working strictly with vets, were there any early lessons that you had to learn about in terms of serving the vet community?
I think for me, one of the unique things that I bring in is because I am not a veteran. I work with a lot of corporations. I work with a lot of supplier diversity and procurement. So a lot of times veterans come in later in life. They start their businesses. They're, in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60 years old, starting their business for the first time because they've spent all that time in the military. So I think what we kind of bring, the VIB and myself and a lot of the others who volunteer with us, bring that experience of here, this is how you work with corporations. This is how you present yourself. This is what's going on in the business world, because they might not have had that experience right off the bat of working in the business space or working with corporations or government agencies. So we kind of direct them in how to, speak corporatese or learn to read those contracts and know that when you win a contract, you don't have to always just adhere to everything the contract says. Read it over, redline it. We always tell people, be proactive, advocate for yourself when you're winning a contract. So when I work with veterans, I think one of the things I love is the camaraderie and the mission orientated, how mission orientated veterans are. I would say we have a group of 30 volunteers that help at the conference, and I would say 90% of those are veterans, and we get stuff done. You say, okay, this is what we need to get done, and they are focused. They get the mission done. They're mission orientated. So I love that, and I think anybody who's going to work with veteran business owners know that they are mission driven, that they are ready for those contracting opportunities, no matter what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. We can relate with that. Jess and I served in the Marine Corps together. That's actually how we met. And when you're getting out, that transition of going from military mindset to corporate is just it's intense, right? It's a lot to learn. It's a whole new language, like you said. So that's awesome that you're able to help, especially those who serve 20, 30 years. That's really a huge shift. And I can't imagine going straight into running your own business without having a organization like VIB to help, hold your hand essentially and help you figure all of that out, especially after that amount of time. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
just
was
try
just
we just try to cut the red tape and the mystery of having a business and finding these opportunities. We're all about, shared knowledge and support so all veteran businesses can succeed. So,
yeah, I was just thinking about to myself, I wish I would have found VIB because my transition was a little bit tougher,
Yeah.
coming from the communications realm, satellites, radios. You think that your skills aren't very transferable, coming into the corporate realm. And it took a while for me to understand that the leadership and development side of that I learned in the military could definitely help me in the corporate side, but I definitely had to do that on my own, and it took probably a little longer than I had hoped for. So that's a really great thing that you do for veterans because we don't stop. So Charles and I are go getters. We love the mission oriented mentality as well. So okay, the next question. So leading a growing nonprofit comes with its own challenges, I'm sure. So what's been one of the toughest moments you've had to work through as CEO, and how did it shape the way that you lead today?
I would say one of the top. So we're celebrating our 10th year in business or as a nonprofit for in 2026. So we've gone through a lot of different changes. First, the excitement of starting the business and whether or not it's going to really be a significant organization and continually getting that message out there because our organization is different because we don't charge the veterans to be part of our nonprofit. So this is where we do lean on our corporations and government agencies. And now veteran businesses have now come on as corporate partners as well. But because we don't charge a membership fee, I feel that, it's always been a little bit of a struggle to let people know how we run the organization or what opportunities are available. Because I'll tell you, I always get people like, okay, so if I join your network, if I join in the directory, you don't charge me now. So I get to do it for a year. And then after that, you'll charge me. And I'm like, no. So that and I get this all the time. So, and then they'll ask me if I join your organization, if I win a contract that somebody finds me from the VIB, you take a percentage. I'm like, no, you win the whole contract. We are just there to be the liaison to help you connect with the corporations. This is where we actually lean on the corporations to help fund our website, our business development programs, and everything in between. So I would say also one of the challenges was the pandemic because we are 10 years old. Right when we were starting to grow, and just like everybody, we're starting to grow, and you're seeing more numbers at our conferences, and and our directory is picking up. Then the pandemic hit, and right away, I remember looking at here, watching the news, going, "We're not going to have a conference this year. We were going to go into our fourth conference, and we're not going to be able to do it. How do we pivot?" And all in February and March, I started doing a lot of research on how to have virtual conferences. I felt like I was going to school every day, the first part of the pandemic, to learn about the latest technology in running virtual events. And I think that's where we went to. We went and had a virtual event. It was one of our most successful conferences as well. We had almost 600 attendees. It was a 2 day event. We did matchmaking. We had a lot of different elements to our virtual event, and we actually won a Stevie Award, an international Stevie Award for our innovation in the conference and how different it was virtually. And it really was amazing to be able to pivot that way. And because we're a small organization, I think that's one of the things that we were able to do is to be able to pivot and go, okay, we're going to try this, and we'll see how this goes. But we're always open to trying. And I think part of leadership is you can't just stay with, comfortable. You need to try something new. You need to always be willing to stick your neck out there and say, okay, well, let's see how this goes. If it doesn't go, then we'll just not do it again. But if it's successful, then we'll hone it, and we'll drive that whatever that event was, and just take our lessons learned and continue to improve on that. So I think that's what we've done in our challenges. If I've been able to pivot and learn every time.
Pivot is probably the theme of 2026, I think, for a lot of companies, especially as we talk about the topic of AI. And that was actually, what I was going to bring up next anyway. And you just naturally, talked about how you pivoted, you learn technology, you innovate. And that's exactly what we really think is critical in 2026 for a lot of these small, medium-sized companies, where they are going to get left behind, right? There's a lot of changes happening today. And, a lot of these trends, especially around technology and AI, they're moving incredibly fast. So, why do you believe it's so important for senior leaders to keep reinvesting in their people so that they can adapt and grow alongside these changes?
Well, I think for senior leadership, I always felt that as a leader, you should invest in yourself too and learn the technology. Just don't give it to your graphics team or your technology team. You should be in those meetings. You should learn how to use all the technology that's available as well. I think sometimes senior leaders just hand it off to somebody else, and they don't actually understand the processes and the value that this can bring to an organization. They understand that they need it, but they don't understand the real value behind it. So a technology, whether you're using Chat GPT or, any kind of social media or any kind of video, I think everything has changed so much in the last couple of years of how people get their messages out there, that you always need to see what is new, and not be afraid to try, not be afraid to mess up as well. I think people are so afraid to mess up that they don't even try. So I would say, mostly just try to have fun with it. Create a an account that's not related to your business, and have fun with it, so you could learn yourself how to use that technology, and not worry about your audience seeing what you're doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think fear is definitely a factor with a lot of it. Just there's again, change is a scary thing for a lot of people. So, but it starts at the top. If the senior leaders aren't buying into it and using it themselves, then how are they going to influence those below them to do the same? And again, if you don't start to pivot, right, that's the word of the year, I think, for 26, then you really are going to get left behind because your competitors, they are doing this. Uh, So as we start to kind of wrap it up here, um, can you think of any kind of practical recommendations for those senior leaders? What can they start doing now or in early 2026 to help reinvest in themselves and in their teams, whether it's, training culture, leadership development, to help make sure that they don't get left behind next year?
I would say all of that. I mean, anytime you can um, continue to grow yourself as a leader, learn about yourself, different leadership styles, and embrace the technology side as well. I think that's really important. Also, listening to your people, your staff, your for us, it's our staff and our attendees. Listen to what they're looking for, what they're needing. I think to be a really successful leader, you need to be able to listen to other people and take that advice to heart and really make some changes in your leadership and grow from there. But I would say it's not just about being a leader; it's also about leading your team so that you can continue to grow. Because if you don't have a good team, who are you going to lead? So.
Exactly. All right, Rebecca. Well, this was great. I love your insight. I couldn't agree with you more on pivoting and just taking those risks sometimes. Sometimes they don't work and you have to pivot again, but I think it's extremely important for business leaders to do that. As we wrap it up, do you have any kind of final promotion opportunities you'd like to take to talk about VIB Network? Where can people find you online if they want to look into your organization?
Sure, no problem. So the VIB Network is a nonprofit 501c3. And for any veteran, you can join for free at vibnetwork.org. You can create a profile. We have over 3,700 veterans that are part of our profile. We're in all 50 states, including Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, and parts of Europe. We have over 600 corporations and government agencies that use our database to find these veterans. So it's not just you put in your information as a veteran, but it is an active directory. Not only do the corporations and government agencies and estimators use it to find veteran businesses, but they also get in touch with us and they say, "Hey, Rebecca, I'm looking for somebody in logistics, or I'm looking for somebody in IT, or leadership training." They'll ask us if we know somebody. We'll go to our directory and find whoever they're looking for and then send them an Excel spreadsheet. Another thing is we have an opportunity board. So if you are looking for opportunities, large corporations put out RFPs on our opportunity board. We have an events calendar. We have our national conference coming up November 2nd and 3rd in Palm Springs in 2026. It's going to be our 10th anniversary a conference, our 10th annual conference. It should be a lot of fun. It's a great way to connect with corporations, fellow veteran businesses, and continue to grow your network as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. And congratulations on your 10-year anniversary. We might need to make a trip out to Springs next
You,
I
year.
know,
you,
she's saying the
you
same
got
thing.
to, you got to come out.
Amazing.
Weather-wise, that's a great time of year. So
Yes.
It
definitely.
is. It is.
All right. Well, thank you again for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it. And thank you to our listeners for joining us again today. This is the Future Proof Leader podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.